We don't live fully and we don't die fully because we're in constant denial. When those things become about food, humans turn into monsters. I would say animals, but animals have a very ordered way of dealing with scarcity. You know, they come after me for raw milk, for selling unwashed eggs to my neighbors. So we have to be submissive and humble to a certain extent and maintain the seeds of revolution within us.
Roger that, ground control. Preparing for second stage separation. Guidance systems online.
It was a pleasure meeting you here. You were born in Lebanon,
I was born in Beirut, Lebanon.
and that was in the 1970s, right?
Yes. During the civil war in Lebanon, there was a really violent, brutal war, conflict that I was born into.
Tell me about your journey, and let's actually start with where you're at now, who you are, and I'd like to understand you as a example of a successful, regenerative, decentralized farmer who has taken food to heart. And but your journey to get to that point has been pretty extraordinary. So tell me what happened.
Well, my name's Houssney, and I'm the lead farmer at Jacob Springs Farm just outside of Boulder, Colorado. And we are a community of about 20 people. We live on the property, and we farm about 1,200 acres. And we have a fully self-sufficient food system where we're able to feed ourselves entirely without inputs from the industrial or global market system. So that includes producing all of our own dairy, beef, lamb, pork, chicken, turkey, all the feed for those animals. A lot of times people have backyard chickens, but they don't think about where does the feed come from. So we produce the feed as well, including grains. So we do regenerative grains. We have our own grain cleaning and flour milling operations so that we can make sourdough bread and other pasta and other products with grains.
Are you selling these products up openly in the market, or is it self-sufficiency?
We sell them for members only in our farm store. We have about 300 to 400 weekly members that come weekly to buy products from our farm store.
Got it.
And
is it a PMA structure?
It's a private membership organization,
Nice.
yeah. So the commercial activity that supports our relationship to the outside world is farming, as well as a few other things, but primarily are the food that we grow. So we were able to eat all our own food and have a beautiful, diverse diet and a sense of place from where we are. We're a community of about 20 people. We're loosely structured, but we work together every morning to take care of the chores. After the morning chores are finished, people go different directions. Some of us continue working on the farm or in the kitchens or doing hospitality. We have some Airbnb income.
Where is that?
On the farm.
Okay.
Yeah, in Boulder, Colorado.
Got it.
And then some of us do other things. Some write, or some have other jobs. Some do mechanic work where they bring it to the farm and work on vehicles. And we've been living that way for 15 years. I've raised 3 sons in that environment. And family and children are at the center of our community. And many of our community members have been quite long-term with us, and others are very new. So we're trying to create a hole in capitalism, a hole in the system, and the shell of that hole is the economic success in the world's terms that creates the resiliency, because capitalism always tries to crush any hole in it. It wants to absorb you. It wants to co-opt you and get you into its clutches. And so the shell is that economic strength to the outside world. But within that, our community operates primarily communally, that is non-transactionally. So what it means to be a member of the community is it means to support the activities of the community, and it also means to share in the bounty, a place to live, housing, infrastructure. We have a spring. We have multiple springs on the property, but one spring that provides our drinking water, and also get food without paying for it or bargaining or fighting for your resources.
Yeah.
So within our community, we have a beautiful way of sharing resources. Outside of the community, we have to relate to people transactionally. They come in and they buy. But the reason that they come and they buy is because they know that our food is excellent. The nutrient density is high, the flavor is good. Those two things are the same or related. And the impact of the farming and agriculture makes people feel good.
That's amazing. So I was really impressed yesterday when we were talking and you were talking about the spirit of the animal that we take and use for our nurture, and how important it is to develop that relationship with the material and understand the energy transfer rather than butcher, processed animals. Tell me a little bit about that and what led you to that path.
We do butcher on our property, and we usher these animals into, a different form. And the form of the exchange is that they feed us and they nourish us. And in exchange, we feed and nourish them and their offspring after them. And the reason we do it on the farm is the same reason we do everything, which is to opt out of the system which treats beings with great disrespect, including the workers and the units of animals that go through those systems, and the food that comes out of them, and the customers.
Yeah.
Everyone is treated with disrespect except maybe the investors. But because we don't want our animals who we've raised carefully to go into environments of stress and disrespect in their final moments, we do that ourselves. And that means we take on the energy and we couldn't even say the karmic consequences of that. And that's something serious. But taking life is giving life. Everything on this planet that lives through the death and decay of other things and other beings.
Have you ever read Joseph Campbell?
Yeah.
I mean, he talks a lot about this, that life feeds life. So if we feed life, our own life, why not pay attention to the quality of the life that we are being fed with?
And we have a very disordered relationship with life and death. We don't really live, and we live to avoid death. So we don't live fully and we don't die fully because we're in constant denial of those parts of the cycle. But just as joyful as a litter of puppies or a brand new calf or a small lamb that's frolicking in the pasture with its mom is the death part of it. It's just a different form of that same cycle. And so becoming comfortable with that involves becoming comfortable with our own place in the cycle of life and death, becoming comfortable with God and becoming comfortable with our purpose, and recognizing that animals also have purpose. And when we harvest them to feed to people, they become entwined and enmeshed in the purpose of the lives of the people that consume them and consume their energy. And so that's a challenge for us then to think about, am I honoring this animal's life in the way that I'm living? Because I'm now taking on the burden, the responsibility of the life of that animal. And I think we can kind of, really respect vegans and vegetarians because they are living they are living consistently with their value system.
Even though that value system in a certain case might be engineered.
Right. So I think the part that I can really praise is the lack of hypocrisy. To say, if this is truly bad, I don't want to participate in it. Yeah. And a lot of us compromise on our values. But, and we all do. you know, there's no, it's fair, purity is a vanishingly rare luxury. But we are also deceiving ourselves to think that we can escape this cycle of death. Veganism may be an attempt in some people's minds to try to escape this cycle of life and death.
Right.
And in my view, that's not escapable. It's part of what it means to be alive.
Yeah.
So we do process animals on the farm, and we create food, and that food has great energy to it because the animals lived in harmony with us, with nature, and we can thrive as they thrive. So our real motto and goal is people thriving within a thriving planet. And scale is very important. So the scale of our community is big enough to be able to tend to all these very different programs so that we have the wide scope for our diet and for the ecological advantages of having diversity. But also small enough that we can relate to each other as individuals rather than through categories and through predefined roles. So this is that's kind of what we're doing.
That's a deep insight and value system that you are living with. Tell me about the circumstances that led you to see the world in this way, or was it very early?
Yeah, very early in my life, I became disillusioned with the global system, and I saw behind the curtain. And the reason for that is that I grew up in a war zone. I grew up in a war zone that I didn't know at the time was the front lines of capitalism and colonialism interacting with ideas of religion and politics and society. I didn't know any of that. But what I knew is that I saw my neighborhoods falling apart, people fighting one another, resources becoming scarce. I saw death. I saw killing. I saw people being wounded. And those things are potentially traumatic things. For me, those things were eye-opening, but it was also a very beautiful time. Living in the context of war and in the context of societal collapse allowed me to see a different side of humans, which is the hyper-local. So neighbors loving each other deeply and supporting each other and realizing in a very real way how dependent we are on one another as individuals, because we can't depend on government systems or global supply chains. Those things were inaccessible to us. But what was accessible was our neighbors and the community that we could connect with locally. And so those were very beautiful times when we said goodbye to each other. It was heart to heart, because we knew the possibility that we wouldn't be returned. And when we prayed together, we prayed, and we felt the spiritual presence of God with us. And when we sang together, we sang. And those things became important because life was very much at the edge. And so singing and praying and connecting with people around us was part of my life. And that's something I've always longed for again. And that's part of why I live in community, because it's so delicious and it's so satisfying. But also I became very much aware of how fragile our food systems are, not just in terms of the quantity, because although apparently we have excess right now, we have only 3 days of food supply in the grocery stores. If those trucks stop coming for whatever reasons that may be due to geopolitical events that seem very far away from us, if those trucks stop coming, our neighborhoods will descend into chaos startlingly fast. And we have been lucky not to see that happen in our lifetime. And the only biggest crisis was some kind of manufactured scarcity of toilet paper. But when those things become about food, humans turn into monsters. I would say animals, but animals have a very ordered way of dealing with scarcity. But humans have a very disordered way of dealing with scarcity. Yes. And so those things were always on my mind, especially through the lens of my mother, who was very, very concerned about where food was going to come from, to the point of obsession, even long after the conflict was over. So for me, being able to feed my people, to know where food was going to come from, and not just the quantity of the food, but the quality of the food, to ensure no bullshit in the ingredients that make up our bodies.
Right.
And so that it just became apparent to me that the only way to really know how to combine all of these desires was to get very basic and to start from the ground, start from the soil, move to the soil biota, move to the plants, move to the animals, and do that all within our own sight. And to do that with like-minded people that we can share life together.
Right.
And do our conflict with, and find ourselves and find the edges of our comfort. And so community and food are very entwined for me.
It's amazing how distress and drama sometimes required to bring that knowledge back to our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you were lucky, kind of, in a sense, you were in a really bad spot, but it actually also prepared you for who you became.
It opened my eyes, totally prepared me for who I became by adjusting my values.
Yeah.
By realizing how, because we have a clown world around us that convinces you that what is truly important is that you participate in its structures and systems so that you can pay for health insurance, so that you can pay for items, goods that seem to you to be important, like laptops and vacations and vehicles and those kinds of things. And I was fortunate enough to see what was really important very early on, that all those things can go away. But what cannot go away is love. Love cannot be defeated. And so I've been in search of that since then.
What would you say to the people who are beginning to have doubts about the system, but have lived in the relative deception of comfort and security for a long time, and are now gradually beginning to feel the heat like frogs in simmering water? How would you, with your background and knowledge and wisdom, relay to them the necessity to start taking care of your own resources and self-sufficiency?
Well, I'm glad you're waking up. If you're waking up to see the world as it really is, and to see the lies and illusions that we've been believing and that we've been sold, well, I'm glad you're waking up. But what I would encourage you and warn you is that if you know that your house is on fire, and you sit there at the kitchen table and finish the game you're playing, you may escape with your life, but just barely. You may be singed. Get out now. The house is on fire. Get out.
And the TV is telling you that the smoke is good for you.
Yeah. You're being told, everything is fine. This is fine. Here I am. The house is burning down. This is fine. You're starting to wonder if that's true because you're feeling the heat and you're coughing on the smoke. And there's another little small voice that you've heard that says, all of this is not okay. Listen and get out of that house before it's too late.
Do you feel that at this stage there's a need for a greater investment from the individual than just survival? Is there a need to, in some way, contribute to, well, you're not going to change the system, but somehow ignite a rebellious nature looking for different ways? And what's your stance on that? Should we skip this reality and try to build our own, or should we try to fight the current reality?
A fool engages in a battle that he cannot win. So it is not time for that yet. You need to seek your rebellion quietly. Unless you live on Tatooine.
Have you seen Andor? Andor.
No.
You should see this. It's it's the prequel to Rogue One.
Uh-huh.
You remember Rogue One? Which was prequel to the first part of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So Andor is a 2-season series, unfortunately on Disney Plus, but the creators were absolutely brilliant. They created a story that tracked individuals from both the empire and the first rebels who started forming an alliance. They were disillusioned individuals, chaotic, disorganized, selfish, and they had to go through this growth arc to become who they became. But the same applied also to the officers of the empire. You know, they were following a code and believing they were doing a good thing.
Yeah.
And we need to see that most people who are working for either side are very similar at the end of the day. There's not a real sense of good and evil going on here.
It's like that. It's like that picture of the protester handing a flower to the shock troop police that are there to suppress the protests.
Yeah.
Their humanity is in common. But here's the thing. If you live, what is Tatooine? And where is the Death Star? If you're an American, you live on the Death Star. So open rebellion on the Death Star right now, that's not going to lead to anywhere. But if you're in Tatooine, if you live in rural South America or Africa or rural Central Asia, you may be far enough from the empire not to be crushed. But rebellion is crushed. And you think you're not going to be crushed just because they come after me for raw milk, for selling unwashed eggs to my neighbors. So we have to be submissive and humble to a certain extent and maintain the seeds of revolution within us, because the time isn't ripe for that yet. It is moving fast. We are coming to a ripeness.
Well, there could be an argument that the timeline is kind of accelerating for making a decision on that part, because once AI, general intelligence, these algorithms take over digital IDs and all that, then it's probably going to be harder to exit.
Could I be crushed? Yes. When you also live through war, you recognize the randomness of things. You cannot engineer your future. Americans have a sociopathic, macho, survivalist fantasy about the apocalypse, where they will suddenly get out the guns they've been hoarding and go kill their neighbors when things get hard. That's a dead-end street. That's an ideation that's going to create a reality. And it's a reality of violence. Truthfully, even in the midst of the most violent and chaotic collapse, your strength is your friends, your community, and your ability to serve and be useful to others. So we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen.
What's your gut feeling tell you?
We will starve together, and it will be beautiful.
Starve. Why do you say it's beautiful?
Because life and death are inevitable, and they're acceptable, and I'm at peace with both of them, and I love my life, and I will love my death, and I will love until my death, because love is easy. It's like taking a breath. And we can continue to do that even as things fall apart around us. It's the illusion of separation. It's the illusion of certain desires that we have for material goods, to control. There's enough of the empire in all of us that we want to control the outcome, because that's the paradigm of control. The paradigm of control is what makes farmers spray pesticides, because they want to control the outcome. But if you live within a paradigm of dance, where your input is taken and received, and you observe, you interact. If you live in that paradigm, you can't be shaken, because you don't have the control you think you do. And we as Westerners, Americans, are trained to think that you can make a difference. Your voice matters. But the truth is, it doesn't. The truth is, it doesn't matter. And if you come to that acceptance, then you know that there are forces that are more powerful than you. Then you can achieve contentment. You can achieve love. You can give and receive. You can sit there and wait maybe things will change. Maybe you will be in the right place at the right time to see things not just fall apart, but you could see the empire fall and a new world begin. Maybe you can, but you cannot decide that you will, because there are big, powerful forces that are also making decisions. And so the best I think we can do is to be ready, to be hopeful, but to live in the now, to share love, give and receive, create good food, have a crowded table, bring the people around, love the hurting, mend up the brokenhearted, do it together, do it daily until the end.
Thank you, brother. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for the chance. Can I get that?
Yeah, let's change number. Are you on WhatsApp?